This is the second part of the read aloud for the Unit 3 test for LAC 2 English. This will be the cold read, Hello, My Name Is by Jason Kim, and these will be questions 11 through 15. Hello, My Name Is by Jason Kim. I will never forget the day I picked a new name. I was standing in front of my class on my first day of school at Craig Elementary in St. Louis, Missouri. I had, only a day before, landed at Lampert Airport after a 16-hour flight from Seoul, South Korea. I was 10 years old. I was nervous, terrified, and jet-lagged, and I was wearing a vest because I thought it was chic. For my entire life, everyone, including me, had known me by my Korean name, Jun Hayek. But here in this new country, in a brand new classroom full of foreign faces, I had to pick a new, easy-to-pronounce American name. Jason Kim. How did I settle on Jason? Because I didn't speak any English, because my teacher didn't speak any Korean, and because it was either going to be Aladdin from my favorite childhood Disney tale, or Jason from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I spent the next decade wanting nothing more than to look like a Larry Lohrbaum or Garrett Kennedy. I still vividly remember my first time at recess, a confusing experience for several reasons, in large part because hanging off monkey bars and making each other cry during dodgeball were not educationally sanctioned activities in Asia. What was so fun about waiting in line, running up the steps, and going down a tiny slide over and over again? What was the value in sprinting after your classmate like a person with rabies screaming, "Tag!" Why didn't anyone look, sound, or act like me? I spent most days at recess sitting alone on the sidelines, eating a special snack that my mother had packed. The snack, a rice cake or piece of candy from Korea, was always accompanied by a note, usually a joke, and sometimes embellished with a drawing, which often looked like an abstract painting, when it was meant to be a sketch of our beloved deceased poodle. A month had passed when a teacher finally tapped me on the shoulder. "Are you okay, sweetie?" Before I could answer, another teacher rang out. Maybe he likes sitting alone. Maybe that's the Asian way. But in truth, I wanted to participate. I wanted to run up to Timmy like a crazy person and yell, "You're it!" I just didn't know how. Outside on the playground, sitting alone at recess, I learned to hate being Asian. I wanted desperately, more than anything, to be white. I immediately forced my parents to stop calling me Jun Hayek at home. I named myself after some guy in a live-action children's television series, and by God, they were going to call me by that name. I got rid of my fitted vests for loose-fitting basketball jerseys. I bought tickets to an Incubus concert and threw away my K-pop CDs. I stopped reading Korean children's books in order to figure out what the heck was going on with James and his giant peaches. At the dinner table, I committed the two worst sins a Korean boy could possibly commit. I stopped speaking Korean, and I stopped eating Korean food. My parents would try to talk to me over a bowl of kimchi stew, and I would pout and ask, in English, if we could order the Meat Lovers pizza from Pizza Hut. For my 11th birthday, my mom made me my favorite Korean dish, ojing unbakam, spicy stir-fried squid. And I looked at her with disdain as I declared, "This is disgusting." The next day for dinner, she made me a cheeseburger. I promptly told her it tasted inauthentic and made her drive to McDonald's. Oh, and no more special snacks either, unless they were artificially flavored and made by Kraft. I was a heinous child. Sorry, Mom. I graduated from high school and moved to New York City for college, where my primary goal was to blend in. But more and more my new friends wanted to know about all the things that made me uncomfortable in the Midwest. To them, being an immigrant made me interesting. At dinner parties, people would fawn over the Korean food and ask for my mother's recipes. They even wanted to know about my childhood in Seoul, and at karaoke, people were genuinely excited that I could sing both Girls' Generation and Natalie Imbruglia's Torn. All of a sudden, being different was an asset, not a risk. In New York, I didn't have to be ashamed about being an Asian immigrant. I could just be ashamed about everything else in my life. A year after I finished graduate school in playwriting, almost 2 decades after I'd landed at Lampert Airport, Lena and Jenny cast me as an Asian American graduate student on the 4th season of Girls. Almost immediately after the episode aired, I began receiving emails, tweets, and Facebook messages from young Asian American TV writers, actors, performers who were excited to see a fellow Asian face on TV. I was shocked. How could this be? I appeared on the show for like a millisecond, and my Beyoncé sweatshirt was definitely doing more work than I did on screen. It was genuinely baffling to think that anyone could look at my very Korean face and feel a sense of connection, much less react in a positive way to the very features I hated about myself for so long. We are at the point in our culture where people are finally beginning to talk about Asian identities in the media. I have not been in the forefront of those issues. I've been crouching in the back, hiding in the corner, watching people like Margaret Cho, Daniel Dae Kim, Ali Wong, George Takei, Constance Wu, Aziz Ansari courageously speak up about the various issues that Asian Americans face in Hollywood. The issues exist both in front of the camera and behind the scenes. There are barely any roles written for Asian actors, and in general, the roles that can be played by a person of any race do not tend to go to Asian actors. Worst of all, the few roles that should go to Asian actors, some very high profile, are being portrayed by white actors. Behind the camera, there are equally few Asian American writers, producers, studio executives, authors, and editors, and while there are certainly a significant number of people struggling to make it, their efforts seem to go largely unrecognized. I have always been terrified of speaking up on behalf of diversity, which to me means a state of inclusion, a choice to be aware of the vast and profound range of identities in the world, including your own. I've been terrified because I grew up in a country without many visible Asian Americans in the culture, and I learned to hate every part of myself that felt foreign and strange. Unfortunately, years later, this is a problem that many young Asian Americans continue to face. How do you understand yourself in a diverse country that actively chooses to ignore your particular kind of diversity? At one point during my 20s, I took a long, dramatic look in the mirror and realized, you will be Korean for the rest of your life. As a teenager growing up in the Midwest, that thought made me cringe. Now, it makes me happy and deeply proud. My dream now as a 30-year-old is for our country to become a place where a cameo of mine would go completely unnoticed, and to see every third-grade teacher tell his or her students, keep your name. You don't have to change a thing. Which theme statement is best supported by the anecdotes shared in Hello, My Name Is? Asian Americans should be encouraged to embrace and celebrate their identities in America. Asian American actors are increasing their presence in entertainment and media industries. Asian American actors continue to be denied opportunities in the media because of their Asian identities. Pause the recording and answer question 11. Question 12. How do Kim's childhood anecdotes contribute to the development of the ideas in the text? They encourage readers to celebrate the diversity of their peers. They emphasize how Kim felt ashamed of his identity and rejected it. They show how difficult it can be to adjust to a new school and make friends. Please pause the recording and answer question 12. Question 13. Reread the following anecdote from the text. At the dinner table, I committed the two worst sins that a Korean son could possibly commit. I stopped speaking Korean and I stopped eating Korean food. My parents would try to talk to me over a bowl of kimchi stew and I would pout and ask in English if we could order the meat lovers pizza from Pizza Hut. Or my 11th birthday, my mom made me my favorite Korean dish, ojing ubakken, spicy stir-fried squid. And I looked at her with disdain as I declared, this is disgusting. The next day for dinner, she made me a cheeseburger. I promptly told her it tasted inauthentic and made her drive me to McDonald's. Oh, and no more special snacks either, unless they were artificially flavored and made by Kraft. I was a heinous child. Sorry, Mom. Which detail from this paragraph above best develops the idea that Kim rejected his Korean identity? He requested pizza, he requested Kraft snacks, or he rejected the ojing ubakken? Question 14. Which statement best describes the relationship between Kim's experience on girls and his view of Asian identities in the American media? Kim realized that he never expected the opportunity to appear on a show like Girls because of his Asian American identity. The graphic presents a visual for the main points that support the central idea of the text. Or the attention that Kim received for his presence on Girls caused other Asian American actors to begin speaking out about the unfair treatment they had faced in the media. In the future, Kim wants America to ignore differences between actors, to be more inclusive and embrace diversity, or to prioritize hiring Asian Americans in media. Please finalize your answers to questions 11 through 15, and you can then look over your whole test, reach out to your LAC 2 teacher if you have questions, and then submit your exam.